Most people buy their first index funds without knowing these 10 things. Some of them cost real money to find out the hard way. I'm going to give you all 10 things right now so you don't have to learn them the expensive way. So let's go ahead and get into it. Thing number one, an index fund and an ETF are not the same thing, but they are often the same product. An index fund is a fund that passively tracks a market index rather than having a manager that actually picks the stocks. An ETF is the structure. It trades on exchange just like a stock at real-time prices throughout the day. Then we have something like the VOO. It is both an index fund and an ETF. But when we look at the FXAIX, which is the Fidelity S&P 500 fund, it is an index fund, but this is not an ETF. It is a mutual fund that settles at the end of day net asset value. Knowing which structure you own tells you how it trades and how the taxes are handled. Thing number two, the expense ratio is the single most controllable factor in your return. When you look at the VOO, it charges a 0.03%, $3 per every $10,000 invested. Then you look at Fidelity's FXROX, which is 0%. You do not pay anything. Any broad market index fund really above a 0.2 percentile requires a very specific justification before you purchase it, before you hold it. Because when we start looking at 30 years, the difference between a 0.03 and the 1%, which is very typical when you think of active mutual funds, a $100,000 portfolio is about $180,000 paid in fees to the fund instead of compounding in the portfolio for you. The expense ratio is the number one thing you can know for certain before you start investing, so you make sure you use it. Thing number three, market cap weight. When you look at a standard S&P 500 index funds, the weight is held by market capitalization. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Alphabet are over 25% in totality of the VOO. You are not buying equal pieces of the 500 largest companies in the United States. You're buying a fund that is heavily concentrated in those big companies and the largest companies in the world. That concentration has been a feature over the last decade, but understand it changes how you think about adding other funds when you're buying something alongside it. Thing number four, VOO versus VTI, they're nearly identical in practice. VOO tracks the S&P 500. It is the 500 largest companies in the United States. VTI tracks approximately 3,700 companies in the United States, which include mid-cap and small-cap companies that are excluded from the VOO. Theoretically, the VTI is more diversified because of this, but in practice, they have nearly identical returns over a longer period of time because large cap companies have absolutely dominated the market cap weighting in the VTI as well. The additional 3,200 companies in the VTI represent such a small portion of its weight, which is roughly 18%. Choosing between them is a philosophical preference, not a meaningful decision when it comes to performance of these two. Thing number five, the hidden tax cost beyond the expense ratio. For most investors, they check the expense ratio and that's it. Few check the bid and the ask spread that we have in there, the difference between buying and selling price when you're trading an ETF. For VOO, the spread is typically less than 1 cent. For smaller, less traded ETFs, the spread can actually be meaningful and it could be a hidden transaction cost when you do business in the ETF. Also, this could be very relevant in taxable accounts, capital gain distributions. Index funds distribute them rarely because they are very infrequently with the trading philosophy that they have. Thematic and factor ETFs can have a much higher turnover, which can distribute capital gains taxes even in the years when the fund price is completely flat. So make sure you check both before you're buying. Now, thing number six, the Roth IRA is where index funds really do perform the best. They are incredibly tax efficient. Low turnover means few capital gain distributions. Inside a Roth IRA, every dividend, every distribution, every capital gains compounds freely for decades, which is why it is so incredibly powerful. The 2026 contribution limit is $7,500 under 50 years old and $8,600 if you're over 50. Looking at the contribution inside of a Roth IRA, when you look at a 10% annual return, just like we see with the VOO, over 30 years, you can produce and accumulate a massive tax-free growth within a portfolio. The Roth IRA does not change what the fund does. It just removes in entirety the tax drag that could quietly compound against you when you look at a taxable account. Thing number seven, the tracking error. An index fund has one very specific job: to replicate the performance of the target index as closely as possible. Tracking errors measure how much the fund can deviate from the index. that it is supposed to be tracking. When you look at the VOO, the tracking error for this, essentially zero. It is a full replication holding every stock within the S&P 500 at the exact same proportion. Funds tracking less liquid indices or using sample strategies tend to have a very high or could have a much higher tracking error. Before buying an index fund, check the tracking error in the fund's fact sheet. A fund that consistently underperforms its own index is failing to do the only one stated purpose that it does have. Thing number 8, diversification inside is not the same as diversification across different asset classes. Owning the VOO gives you access to 500 US large cap companies, significant diversification within US large cap equities. It is not the same as diversification from the US market risk. In 2022, the VOO fell about 18%. Every stock in that fund fell together. True portfolio diversification means owning assets that respond differently to the exact same economic conditions. Adding SCHD, international funds or bonds alongside the VOO serves a very different purpose than the 500 companies inside the VOO serving each other. Understanding what kind of diversification you have and what kind you might actually be missing out on. Thing number 9, the best fund you hold will always beat out the best fund you sell. Every study has shown long-term investor returns, and reaching the exact same conclusion, the investor who holds a mediocre fund consistently will outperform the investor who switches between optimal funds reactively. The Delbar data shows that the average equity investor earns significantly less than their fund return over a 20-year period, not by picking bad funds from the start, but selling during corrections. Picking the mathematically optimized index fund is a second-order decision. Picking the fund that you can hold through 2022 and 2008 and every future correction we're going to see is the first-order decision. If QQQM's volatility causes you to sell during the drawdowns, VOO at a lower return will actually capture and beat out the QQQM at a higher return because of repeatedly abandoning the ETF. And thing number 10, what do you do when your index funds drop 30%? This is something that no one tells you before you buy. Your first significant drawdown will feel absolutely catastrophic. The fund that seems stable in a long-term wealth-creating vehicle will suddenly feel like a huge mistake. Every financial headline will confirm your absolute worst fear. The correction action: buy more if you have cash available, maintain contributions if you have the automatic contribution set up, and do nothing else. Every recovery in the S&P 500 history has produced all-time highs. The investor who sold in 2020 during COVID crash missed the fastest recovery we've seen in market history. The investors who held through 2022 recovered within 14 months. The drawdown is never a signal to exit. It is the emission price to gain and get those long-term returns. This is the 10th thing, and this is the most important thing by far on this list. Now guys, drop a comment down below which of these 10 are most surprising. And if you've been investing in index funds for a while, what is something that you wish you knew a little bit earlier in your investment journey? I read every single reply, and of course, I will respond to those. Subscribe this week if I'm giving you a complete ETF investing education, and I'll catch you in the next video.